Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
Empathy is intimate. Empathy costs. It costs great vulnerability. It costs entering into somebody else's pain. It costs receiving that in whatever way God is calling. But it's intimate. And I think what John was saying in his blog was he was calling me. Reluctantly, I was reluctant, but he was calling me to enter into the pain of those people that belong to the Lord. Yes, he is. He is God. And I said over and over again, Jesus, you are Lord. That is the truth. You are Lord in the midst of agonizing with these people over their loss and over the pain and over the grief that they are and will continue to go through. It is intimate. It is a call to true intimacy. And that's what he calls us to.
I think one of the big things about the difference between sympathy and empathy is sympathy is really for me. Empathy is about the other. When I sympathize with someone, I'm trying to feel good about myself and my own goodness, that I can sympathize with you. Oh, isn't that... Nobody wants to be now-nowed and poor thing. I mean, nobody wants that. But if I'm empathizing with you, I'm in it with you. I'm seeing you. Sympathy sees me. I'm almost reflecting my own pity party over here about your situation so that I can feel good. Where empathy is,
what happened to you happened to me.
And
that's empathy.
And embracing it. And we've got a couple podcasts already in the hopper because of the book being released, and this will be, a couple weeks down the road. And I think it's fine. We got the blog written. But what'll happen between now and then? What will be the new one? It's almost like there's one every week. Something is happening. And
I noticed something in the news about, that is different this time. They're letting God be mentioned. And this man, what is his name, John Williford? Stephen Williford. He said clearly in an interview, I can't describe it, but the Holy Spirit came upon me. I cannot tell you how it felt, but I was calm and I knew what to do. And he fully believed that God had him at that place at the right time to take this killer out. He was trained and armed and able to do it and was protected because they did get an exchange of gunfire. And I heard one major news media say, I appreciate this man talking about his faith in the middle of this situation. I have not heard anything like that mentioned before. So you see, even that is turning at a high price. But this precious man that is God's went out barefoot, running barefoot, because they said, why didn't you take time to put on shoes? He said, as Carol said, because every shot meant a person. A person. That's empathy. And because he was led of God and sanctioned by God to be there, many lives were saved. We don't know how many. It was headed toward another church in Waco with all those weapons. And so that is remarkable. that the media would, they said, I appreciate that he's talking about his faith in the middle of this situation. And that's new. It's a teeny recognition that we need God. Nothing else. God. And I want to say, too, I know that we are able to carry some of the grief for other people. We are able to vicariously take on and carry the burden. And I remember when I was going through some of sickness, my daughter said, Mom, I believe I carried a little of your suffering. And I knew that she had, because I experienced a freedom. We can, if we're willing, we can enter in by the Spirit. And I think after Don Nelson's death, which is, those of you who know us know that was a major event in our lives. John carried some of the burden of grief for Carol. He wept, and Carol was able to not be so broken because John carried some of the grief. So if we enter into this, there's no telling what will happen in the news media. If we take these people on, they may find, like the man who wrote It Is Well With My Soul, his wife and 3 daughters, was it, perished at sea. And when he took a boat and went to that very spot, that's when he heard the words, It is well with my soul. And that was grace. That's the kind of grace we want them to have.
Then it is intercession.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Until you said that.
I didn't realize it was, Carol.
I didn't realize it, but that's what I'm hearing. Is that's what it is.
Thank you. It is, and that's encouraging. To be in it enough to help, and to really help.
Well, as I look at these faces on my blog, I'm thinking, God didn't abandon them. And God did not abandon them. And God did not abandon their families. And has not abandoned any of them. I mean, He's one body. We are one body. So if I'm unwilling to empathize and pick up my end of my body, God help me. I'm letting, if I'm the finger and I'm letting the toe down, or, whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm probably never going to see these people. I'm never going to talk to these people. I'm never going to be able to give them a hug. I'm never going to be able to do any of that. But if we are one body, then we're all connected through this. And Jesus has not abandoned them.
I just remembered something that I want to share. Some years ago, I heard the testimony of a young woman who was murdered by an assailant, and he stabbed her 16 or 17 times. It could have been a boy. I don't remember if it was a man or a woman. But this person, I'll say it's a girl. It was a young woman. God raised her back to life. She died from those stabbings, and she was brought back to life. And she said, I want to tell you, parents, if you have a child who is murdered, I want you to know that God was with me, and I was in ecstasy. I was not even in pain as I was being murdered. He said, I want you to know that God is there. And I remember when Vicki Harris took us to Mauthausen, the concentration camp, and we saw so many horrible things, the ovens, the chambers, the barracks. It was unspeakable. I could hardly stand it. I thought I was going to explode. And then I cried out to God, just silently. Nobody knew it. And I knew all of a sudden He was there. He was there. In that place, in that darkness, in every second, in the last seconds of life, He was there. Of course He was. Of course He was. He could not have been there.
I feel like He is driving us to revival. That's how big His compassion and His love is.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and LivingChristianBooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.